Hey guys, this is Otegi Wajia. You probably know me for my Tearlament Lunalight top from the Dusklease Regional last weekend. I think the deck is actually really solid. I think it's one of the best tier variants you can play. I think it's very under the radar to a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players. I think a lot of the lists that are floating around right now aren't really the best, but I did want to show off some changes that I made to my list from the deck profile I made a few days ago. And I wanted to demonstrate the combo guide. So first we're going to get into the changes I made about the list, and the first and most notable one is adding the Gamma package. This is something a couple other tier Luna decks that are floating around were actually doing. I do think it's 100% correct. Actually, after I got 5th at that regional, I talked to Cody Angeloff afterwards when I lost to him at table 1 in round 8. Asking for some advice about what I could have done better in the match, what I could change about my deck. He advised that I definitely play Gamma. Later, when I got home, I started theory crafting, playtesting. This is definitely really solid in this deck. It insulates Shiren. It allows you to play the redo or lambda interaction. Also, having lambda on field is really good with playing around hand traps. It's really good with going second with this card, and the redo or lambda interaction just as good as it was a few years ago. The next change we made to the deck was upping the count of the Lunas. So what we did is we bumped Martin to 3, and we bumped Emerald Bird to 2. So I actually alluded to me doing this in the deck profile. I said that it was something that I may do in the future. The reason is because both of these cards are really, really crazy to mill, and they're both really good to hit off Shiren for your discard. This adding Serenade Dance, now it basically says if you hit Perfume at any point in the 12 cards you mill with the tier cards, you're going to get free Luna combo. Perfume Engrave, Serenade Dance in hand, you've gotten full Luna combo instantly. And it's also the most card advantageous way of doing it. And then 2 Emerald Bird, very similar reason to Martin. Playing 3 Martin actually makes me a little bit tempted to play 2 Serenade Dance, but I'm not going to go down that deep dark path. 1 is definitely good for now. 2 Emerald Bird, yeah, just really solid to mill. We would play 3, but it's not the best. It's not the best normal summon, and it's only good to draw in certain hands. It's also really bad by itself. So you only want to open it in accordance with other Lunalight cards, and you never want to mill it by itself. So we're just playing 2 of that. Then the other changes we made to the deck were we bumped Super Poly into the main deck, and we were playing 3 now. In my deck profile, I was playing 3 Super Polys, but in the side deck. This is because in this deck, we can play through any number of interruptions we want to. I've literally killed people through Nib, Crow, Ash before. I've literally set up a full end board through Nib, Gamma before. This deck has no problem dealing with interruptions unless our hand is really clunky. So, my theory behind maining Droplet was that now we're not going to lose to the big monster floodgates in the format, which are Scythe and Dweller. And by not losing to these cards, we're effectively able to play all the time, despite our opponent's interruptions. Now, this is true, and I think this did contribute to me winning the regional. Topping the regional. This did contribute to me topping the regional, but I think it would have been just as good in the side as it would have been in the main, and I think this would have been better in the main in a lot of situations. Basically, Droplet was really insane, as I said, but it was only good in games 2 and 3. And that's only something I figured out after I got home, started theory crafting. So I definitely think we just swap out this for Droplets. Swap the Droplets that we had in the main for this, put the Droplets over in the side. Then the next change we made to the deck was bumping the Merly to 3. And the reason we did this actually only makes sense if I show you the next change, which is changing Rhinoheart down to 1. We do this because I think Kaleidochick is actually one of the best normal summons in the game. The more I thought about it after the tournament, the more I tested with it. Kaleidochick is just an insane normal summon, and we don't want to be normal summoning this anymore. And we're playing 3 Merly because then we're more likely to hit a tier off Kagutsuchi. Now, we could possibly play 2 of this, so we'd hit it more off Kagutsuchi, but generally this is not a good card to draw. So I think just playing 3 of every tier is good enough. Except for this. This is not the one we want to draw. This is better to draw than this, because this is a good Shiren discard. And Shiren is the good card in this deck. Then I believe that's it for the main deck changes. It is. Now onto the changes in the extra deck. There were only 2. They were cutting they were cutting the Dugaras and cutting the Bomber Dragon for Lambda and Boral Sword. So basically, Bomber Dragon was okay throughout the tournament, but Boral Sword, I thought about it, it would have been a lot better in those situations. I think I was actually beating Cody in Game 2 in Round 8, despite me misplaying, if I had discarded my extra deck. Now, that goes on to another point. I think I could have won that regional. I was just playing like a complete idiot versus Cody in Round 8. I'd never been in that position before. Definitely something I just need to practice, you know, get more energy for those long regionals, be able to like not be nervous around like 30 people around the table watching me, but I just gotta get used to it. Like I've topped a regional before, just like I wasn't at table 1, I was at table like 20 something, and it was like a top 32, which just barely earned me a Nats invite. So I think this is way better than Bomber in this specific variant because we put up a whole lot of bodies, and with 3 effect monsters is not a big deal for us. And objectively, this is more damage than Access Code. It also synergizes with a Snow Banish Collider Chick better. Yeah, as I said, it's more damage. It's also unlike it outs big hard to out cards. This actually beats Arrival Cybers in some situations, especially when you boost it with Dugaras, because it takes half of Arrival Cybers' attack, goes up to whatever it is. If it was at 6,000, this will go up to 6,000, hilariously enough. So this is almost always going to be outing Arrival Cybers, almost always going to be outing Avermax, and it's going to be OTKing in the exact same situations that Access Code would be OTKing because of the sheer amount of bodies this deck puts on the board. So I think this is really good in this deck. Then at Lambda, as I said earlier, we're playing Gamma, Lambda plus Redoer, crazy interaction. Then like Shiren Fuse in the end phase when you detach with Reader, you're just going like way plus 3 interruptions off just that. It's really good. Just generally, this is a great card to play. That's it for the changes we made to the deck. These changes are changing the way the deck combos. Anybody who actually physically saw me at the regional knows what my end board was. It was a Dweller, Masquerena, 2-mat Appa with Stonegrave, and sometimes Reader if we had to guess. This end board is quite frankly better, and it's also arguably lower investment. It also loses the Dark Ruler way less hard, and it has potential to play around Dark Ruler with a higher skill ceiling way more than the other could at its high skill ceiling. So I'm just going to pull out like a random hand of 5 cards, and we're just going to combo up from there. We'll do this as many times as we need to, because there's a lot of different ways this deck starts the combo, and a lot of ways it goes through the midpoint of the combo, and a lot of ways it goes through the end point of the combo. This starting point, midpoint, end point are actually very important to the way this deck plays, and I'll explain it when we get into it. So we have Snow, Hobness, Martin, Shiren, and Tenki. So this hand is actually really solid. What we would want to do here is we would want to activate the Tenki first. You always want to get the Tiger out of your deck before you commit to any tier plays, because milling Tiger requires you go through a lot of hoops with Black Sheep, and potentially if you mill Black Sheep, you have to fuse it back for Mud Dragon, but that's another fusion that you just wasted. Unless you need the level 4 body, but that makes things even more complicated, and then you got to think about playing around crap, and it's it just gets really complicated. I mean, it's doable, but generally you just want to get this out of your deck first. Then you're going to want to go for Shiren effect. Now here, pitching both Martin and pitching Hobness are really solid. But we're going to pitch Martin here, because when we pitch Martin, we'll get to add Serenade Dance, and then if we hit anything good, like a perfume off of it, we can pitch the Serenade Dance. And then worst case scenario, we hit literally nothing. We can go Scale Tiger, summon Martin, then make Redoer, and then fuse that way with Shiren. Now, those are the benefits of fusing with Martin, or sending Martin for Shiren. The benefits of sending Hobness for Shiren is just way more guaranteed. No matter what you're fusing here. Now, I would say it's probably better to fuse to discard Hobness here. This is what I usually do, unless my hand is really specific. Lay that out for you. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pitch the Hobness, and we will mill 3, cutting our deck. Alright, our mills here were really good. So what we're going to do here is we're going to trigger the Hobness, and this is going to fuse with the Shiren. It's not where these cards should be going. Apologies. So you're going to make the Kikalis, you're going to make a Kikalis effect. In this deck, it's really, really good to be going for the mill 8 play with Merly, because you could be hitting Perfume, you could be hitting Zephyros, which is even better in this deck. I definitely think that Lunalight is what you should be doing most turn ones. I'll just make this a bit more visible to you. Alright, to make it callous, you get a callous effect. It's going to send itself and summon out the Emerald. We'll cut, we'll go 1, 2, and mill 8. Alright, so those are decent hits. What we're going to do with this is we're just going to trigger the Sharon. And what Sharon's going to do here is going to fuse with the Kalos, and this is where this deck differs from some other builds of the deck, because it's going to make Garuru right now. A lot of other builds would make the Dragosplia. Some other builds are actually making Garuru here just the same way we are, and we're making Garuru the same reason they are. And that is, we skill Tiger here of course, that is to be able to make Curious. Now here we're going to activate Collider Check. This way, we are getting the Martin that we really don't want to mill out of our deck before we make Curious and mill 3. Now, from here you have two choices. Either you can go Martin target Tiger, overlay with Chick, make Kagutsuchi mill 5, or we can make Curious. Now here, there's only one card that we need to get in the grave, and it's specifically Zephyros, because we already have Snow in hand. So it's way better to make Curious. So you're going to link 3. You make the Curious, and once you make Curious, it can either be Garuru 1 Curious 2 or Curious 1 Garuru 2. Here we're going to go for Garuru as Chainlink 2, because even if we draw the Zephyros, we still have a Perfume and Serenade Dance to get rid of Snow and Zephyros. So we're going to cut, draw 1, and then we're going to mill 1 from deck. That's actually a really good draw. What we're going to mill here is, of course, these Zephyros. And then on resolution, we're going to trigger the effect of Curious to mill 3 first, because we have to. So mill 3, it's hilariously 3 tier names, but only one of them is triggerable. So you're going to trigger them early here. You're always going to fuse with Garuru in this situation. Now you have two choices. Either you can make Mud Dragon for another level 4 to go into Luna plays, or you can make the Dragosplia. Here we're going to make Mud Dragon because we don't have a lot of level 4s that we're like going into with Luna plays. So we're making Mud Dragon. And once you've done this, we're going to go effect of Yellow Martin, bounce back the Tiger. And you're also going to want to use the Serenade Dance engrave, banishing and pitching the Snow. Serenade Dance pitches for effect, by the way, which is super relevant with a lot of the tier cards. Actually won me a couple matches at the regional. So there you will summon an Emerald Bird. And another cool perk of Emerald Bird here is that you get to discard the Yellow Martin and draw 1. It's moments like these that make me want to play 2 Serenade Dance. That's a really bad idea though, don't do that. So you pitch the Martin, you draw 1. Foolish Goods is okay here. It lets us set up a Hotness on our turn for next turn that potentially becomes more Apo material, and also a way to our tier engine that isn't just like Dugara's next turn, which we actually ended up cutting. So definitely very good to activate Foolish here. Once you have done this, you have two choices. You can either make these into Kagutsuchi and then link them off, or you can go straight into Kagutsuchi. What I would do here is I would actually scale Tiger effect, and then make Kagutsuchi later, because we want to do this under Lambda to fake out the Gamma. The reason you do this is because first you're going to make Redoer here, which would be really solid, and you're also going to go Mud Dragon Call Swamp before you, what am I on? Mud Dragon Call Dark before you make Redoer, because it's going to protect the Redoer from any potential like really late interruption. Here this does lose to Nib a little bit. I would not do this combo in games 2 and 3, but you're going to activate Redoer in the main phase. Redoer is going to banish itself, attaching Emerald Bird. Now here, Emerald Bird and Lambda are going to trigger. Both are fine in either chain link, it just depends on which the specific game state is. Here I would probably chain block Emerald Bird with Lambda. So we'd go chain link 1, chain link 2. That's going to resolve in the end phase, and the Emerald Bird is going to summon the Collider Check out of our graveyard. Now that we've done this, I think this is actually the really huge end board. I'll explain to you what that means soon. So what you're going to do here is you're going to Zephyros, target the Tiger, put it back in your hand to summon itself. And then you're going to link 2 with the Chick and the Zephyros. And you're going to make the Masquerena. The reason Masquerena is really insane in this combo, I will explain soon. It's just, it'll make sense very soon. Now, what you're going to do next is you're simply going to scale Tiger and go for Tiger effects. You're going to summon back any Luna name. Chick is almost kind of the best one, I guess. And you're going to make Dweller. Now, in the end phase, the Redoer is going to come back. You want to summon this in defense, by the way. We should have done that earlier, since technically when it comes back it has to be in the same position. So this should be in defense from the moment you summon it. I'm just a little stupid like that sometimes. Then still in the end phase, the Lambda is going to resolve, which is going to add us the Gamma. Also remember to set this, always. It's really good into Dark Ruler. So, now that we're here, you're probably asking, like, what is exactly the interruptions here? And the soundboard is deceptively strong. So, the soundboard actually loses to no board breakers in the game except that one named Mystic Mine. For an explanation, basically our opponent goes main phase 1, activate Dark Ruler. First off, they're still under Dweller, because we go for Dweller in the draw phase always, and Redoer is always banishing itself in the standby phase if we hit a monster, because then it'll allow us to get another Lambda search and it plays into Dark Ruler better. So basically, if they Dark Ruler us, they're still under Dweller, they have to deal with Super Poly, and they have to deal with Snow Engrave, and Hotness in our hand. That's like, it's literally 4 interruptions, even if they've drawn Dark Ruler, and one of them is a complete graveyard lockdown. And we're getting a Gamma for next turn to play into their board better, with Lambda. Now, let's say that's not what they decided to end on. No matter what, you are usually going to go for Redoer to banish itself in the standby phase, just so you get another Lambda search in the end phase, and so that you play into Dark Ruler better, as I said earlier. But, we're not just playing it around Dark Ruler doing that. We're also playing around, another thing we're playing around in the sideboard is specifically evenly matched. This is because we have a Snow Engrave. This is actually an interaction I figured out at Locals the other day. Snow effects is really amazing in this deck, because basically your opponent is going to go battle phase, and in start step of battle phase, you're always going to want to go Snow effect if you're reading the evenly. So what Snow is going to do here is it's going to banish 7 or 6 cards, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the 7th card, you're going to have it be Kaleido Chick. Now what's important here is, still in the start step of the battle phase, Kaleido Chick is going to trigger in the banish pile. And what Kaleido Chick says is that if it's banished, your opponent can't activate any more card effects during the battle phase of this turn. Now because they're already in the battle phase, they're essentially just going to have to go, okay, main 2. And now you've blanked one of the cards in their hand, they now have Driver in their hand basically. They have to beat your entire M board still. And they're doing it without a battle phase. So that's why this doesn't lose so evenly. Then if they have Droplet, they specifically have to have Droplet send 3 plus full combo to beat it. Plus full combo through Snow and Toughness, which doesn't happen. So they have to have Droplet Mystic Mine, basically. The only thing this combo loses to is Mystic Mine. And the interaction that is most important that you remember with this is that when you go Gamma effects under Lambda, what you're then going to do is you're going to activate the Masquerena, and this is extremely important because it gets the Driver into your graveyard and it also resets your Snow activation. So essentially, you're not just setting up a 4 material Apo, you're setting up a 4 material Apo plus an interruption next turn plus Snow. And that's what the M board of this deck achieves. We were not playing around cards like this at the regional. The M board just wasn't made for it. I wasn't mentally ready for it. I wasn't prepared enough with this deck. This deck isn't explored enough in the slightest. This deck has a way higher ceiling than people think it did. I think this deck could have won the regional if I played better, even in that like flawed form of the deck that I was using at the regional. I just think this deck has really high potential. We're gonna do one more test stand. There's 2 kind of hands that get full combo, and those 2 kinds of hands are like 90% of the hands the deck produces. The deck only bricks when it's like, it's fairly rare for the deck to brick. Usually when you're losing games with this deck, it's because you're either getting floodgated or your mills were just horrible. Like, this deck very rarely bricks. So we're going to shuffle that back in, we're going to get another hand, and I'm probably going to have to go back in and shuffle that hand back in, because we're looking for a specific hand so I can explain a specific way to start the combo. So this doesn't do it. Just keep going until I get one, because I do want to explain the specific way to do it. This will do well enough. So basically what you'll notice here is there are not a lot of tier cards here. There's only 1 tier card in our hand, there are only 2 cards that become tier cards. and they don't become tier cards in the best way. So this hand is actually deceptively really strong. What you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to activate Foolish. Foolish plus Perfume is actually amazing in this deck. It could also be Chick plus Perfume. Just anything that puts a Luna in the grave plus the Perfume automatically is full combos for your hand trap. So what you're going to dump with the Foolish is you're going to dump the Yellow Martin. And what Yellow Martin is going to do is it's going to add a Lunalight spell or trap. If we could add Perfume, we would. That is unfortunately not legal, as this card has a space in it. So you're going to add Serenade Dance. And now you're going to Perfume Effect. This is going to summon the Emerald Bird that we just dumped. So now that we've done this, I'm sorry, did I say Emerald Bird? I meant Yellow Martin. So summon the Yellow Martin we just dumped. Afterwards, you're going to go for the effective Perfume. That's going to pitch the Serenade Dance, and it's going to add the Lunalight Tiger to our hand. Now, we're still not done, because we have the Serenade Dance and the Emerald Bird to still trigger. Are you seeing how this is really good? Now, Serenade Dance finishing, you can actually pitch any of these three cards. What I wouldn't pitch here is Emerald Bird. If we had a Lunalight engrave, you would definitely pitch Emerald Bird. Serenade Dance pitching Emerald Bird with a Lunalight engrave is actually really solid. Foolish Grail is just a dead card in hand right now, but Celiac is probably the best card to pitch, because usually when you're starting your combo off with the Luna half of the deck, you're not going to be able to play around Dark Rule with Celiac, so it's best to just trigger it. So you're going to go Serenade Dance, pitch the Celiac, and you're going to grab the Tiger. Sorry, not Tiger, Chick. We can't summon Tiger from our deck here. So you go Chick Effect afterwards, but first you're going to resolve the Celiac. And Celiac here can add one of two cards. It could be one of three cards really, because we haven't normal summoned. It can be Rhinoheart, Merly, or Shiren. But here it's going to be Shiren, because that can take the Emerald Bird out of our hand later in the combo for really good extension. Now, once you've done this, it's very important at this point in most combos to link these two monsters off. You're not going to want to go straight into Kagutsuchi immediately, because that will keep the two Lunalight monsters you linked off, or the two Lunalight monsters used as material, stuck under there. You need to link the Kagutsuchi off to free them. Basically, we make Masquerena here. The reason we make Masquerena and not Lambda is because Masquerena requires two non-linked monsters, and when we make a link 2 later in the combo, there's two link 2s, Lambda and Masquerena. We want the link 2 we make later to be Lambda so that we can link off Curious for it, because a dead Curious on board doesn't do that much, other than just mill 3 every time. But generally, unless you have Gamma in hand, this is going to be Masquerena. If you have Gamma, it's going to be Lambda, just to play around hand traps. Very simple stuff. Now, with the 4 cards still in hand, you have 2 choices of the combo right you can go for here. I'm going to go for Shiren Effect. I think this is definitely the better play. You're going to pitch the Emerald Bird, and then you're going to mill 3. So the reason this is so good is because you're going to be able to chain block whatever tiers you hit with the Emerald Bird, but even if we don't hit a tier. See, we didn't hit a tier. We literally hit Driver, but we didn't even hit a tier. But this combo is still really good, because you're going to go for the effective Emerald Bird. It's going to summon out the Collider Chick, and now Collider Chick is going to get the 3rd Yellow Martin out of our deck. Now, we're guaranteed not to draw these. We don't want to draw these. 3 Emerald Birds in grave is really... I keep calling this card Emerald Bird! 3 Yellow Martins in grave is always really solid, because you have plenty for extension, you're not losing to anything, and the more your opponent does to you, you're going to stay resilient through it. So you have 2 Yellow Martins in grave so far, but just generally you don't want these in your deck because they're not good to draw unless it's turn 1 and you're pitching them for Shiren. That's why we're playing 3, because turn 1 pitching them for Shiren is a +4, but I digress. What you're going to do here is activate the Tiger, and you're going to go Tiger Effect, and you're going to summon out the Yellow Martin. Now we're going to overlay these 2 into the Kagutsuchi, and what this is going to do is it's going to mill the top 5 cards of our deck. Now if we hit any tier, this is going to be 8 interruptions, the same on boards earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so we hit Merly. Basically, we had a 95% chance to hit a tier over 8 cards with 11 remaining in our deck. So there's nothing really stopping us. So I don't believe we have another tier. Actually, I think we have Collider. No, we don't. We're just going to fuse off these 2 with Merly effects. If they Crow here, you're actually not that badly off, because you're still making at least Dweller plus this plus Masquerena, which is still technically 4 or 5 interruptions. But this is even crazier. So you're going to make a Kalos, and you're going to go Kalos Effect. It's always good to add Merle here because the Mill 8 play is really solid in this deck. You could add Shiren if you're really afraid of Dark Ruler, though. This is a very similar combo to earlier. You go Kalos target self, send, summon, cut in half, and you're going to Mill 8. Well, hitting 2 tiers is pretty good. You're going to go Chainlink 1 Havnis, Chainlink 2 Shiren. Shiren is going to fuse back always with the Kalos. And it's going to become either Garura or Dragospelia. Now, it's going to become Dragospelia here because Havnis is going to want to fuse... Well, no, that's wrong. It's simply going to become Garura here. Because this is going to become Curious soon. Then Havnis is going to resolve. You're going to fuse back any of these Luna names. Preferably the one that you have the most of engraved. But we already have an Emerald Bird engraved and we only really need one there. And having a lot of Martins in graveyard for circulation is way better than having a bunch of Emerald Birds in graveyard for circulation. Because Martin has a graveyard effect you can trigger in the main phase, just in an open game state, whereas the Emerald Bird does not. So these two are going to become a Mud Dragon, just for extension. And then you're going to go Mud Dragon effect, you're going to call Dark. And now, remember, we've scaled Tiger once. That's the extent of our Tiger usage so far. We've only scaled Tiger once. So, remember that. You're going to Mud Dragon effect, call Dark, and you're going to link these three off. We notably don't have a Zephyros or a Snow in here. Both will be really good dumps off Curious. But we're going to have to pick one. And in this situation, since we since we already have a bunch of extension, and we have not used Martin yet, it's going to be better to mill Snow. So you're going to go either Chainlink 1, Curious, Chainlink 2, Garura, or Chainlink 1, Garura, Chainlink 2, Curious. It really does not matter. For here, we'll resolve Curious first, just to make it simpler, and making sure that we don't draw Snow. Then you're going to draw one. Clouded Chick is not the worst card to draw. You're then going to mill through with Curious. Cosmic is always good, or Galaxy Cyclone is always good for next turn. And what you're going to do next is you're usually going to link these two off, because you don't want to have this lying on the field with 2 Lunas just like stuck under it. Notice we have like 6 Lunas in our graveyard right now. Very solid. Very good place for Redoer in the future, and very good place for the Tiger in the future. So you make Lambda with these two. Now, put simply, we're just going full combo now. What you're going to do here is you're going to activate Shiren effect, or not Shiren effect, I'm sorry. You're going to activate Martin effect. So you're going to bounce back the Tiger, and you're going to rescale the Tiger. And then when you scale Tiger again, you make the Chick. And what you will do then, from here you have a choice where you can either use Snow to extend really hard, or you can just do the humble play. Using Snow to extend here is a little risky because you're going to have to Snow twice, and we only have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have about like 20-something cards in our graveyard. So Snowing twice is okay, but it's not ideal. Also, if we're in game 1, there's no point in putting a second rank 4 on board. The second rank 4 is always Dweller, which we don't always need in game 1. The blind rank 4 you always make is Redoer, because Redoer plays around Nib the best, it plays around Dark Ruler the best, and it triggers Lambda, which adds Gamma, which is good into every deck in the format, except for, like, Eldritch, I guess, but that's not really in the format. So you make Redoer, and now that you've made Redoer, you're going to go End Phase, and you're going to trigger Redoer effects. Banish till End Phase, Detach, and trigger Lambda, still an End Phase Redoer will return. You should probably summon this in defense, but it does have to be in defense the first time you summon it. So remember to always summon this guy in defense turn 1. And you're going to add the Gamma. Now this M-Word is actually way more interruptions than it looks like, because you are able to link off the Gamma pieces that you summon into the Apo later. And I'll demonstrate just how that works. So during the opponent's turn, usually during the standby phase, if you hit a monster off Redoer, you're going to Redoer effect still in the standby phase to banish itself. This is going to give you another Gamma to use with Lambda later, which is really solid for turn 3 killing if they somehow like set up something. So it's also going to clear space for your Gamma and your Snow, and potentially if you like get some kind of access to Shiren later, it's good to just not have those zones locked up. So during the opponent's turn, we have interruption 1 being Gamma. I believe we've milled Driver already. We have. So this is the first interruption. And the second interruption is going to be the Snow Engrave, finishing 1, 2, 3. This one's important. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now note that if your opponent enters the battle phase immediately upon seeing your end board, you're going to go for the effect of Snow Banishing Chick. I believe I went over this earlier, but if I didn't, I will make sure. Banishing Chick allows you to play around evenly when they enter the battle phase. So you're always going to banish Chick, even if they haven't declared going to battle phase, and you're just interrupting them like a normal combo. This is still like really solid to stop them in the battle phase, because there are a couple like important cards in the meta right now that do want to do stuff in the battle phase. So you're going to make Snow, you're going to chain block Snow with the Collective Chick, book a guy, that's the second interruption. Then, Masquerade Effect, you're going to link off all of these into a format Apo. And that's going to put you at 6 interruptions. Now, when you Snow again, that's going to be 7. And 7 interruptions is is good enough to stop just about any deck in the meta right now. And if it doesn't, they're at the very least not killing you. And if they're not killing you, next turn you have a Gamma in hand that you added off Lambda earlier. You have a Snow activation. You have 3 Tiger activations. You have Redoer on board. And you have the potential to extend with Foolish Burial Goods into a Tearlament play. So basically, you've won the game by now. Your turn 1 combo in this deck is really solid. And this is another reason why I think this is definitely one of the best one of the best Tearlament variants. It's really good in the grind game, especially with Tiger. It's very solid turn 1, as I've clearly just shown you. I think this is going to see a lot more play soon, especially on Twitter. I remember Nesh and Vlad are starting to pick up on this deck. And it's always good to see the bigger figures in Yu-Gi-Oh! Start to like pick up these kind of smaller, less known decks, because they're solid. They're definitely a lot better than people perceive them. So, yeah, that was my combo guide. Just 2 test hands, because this deck usually takes about 10 minutes each turn 1. That's actually why we're playing that iconic Gaga Cowboy in the side deck. Has won me an unfair amount of matches, has won me 2 locals now. It's very, very hilarious, very solid. So that's going to do it for this combo tutorial for this deck. I hope you all have a great night. See you.